Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, Lisa's joining us. I believe she's watching. Yes. Rebecca, I can see you there. Patricia, welcome to, I think there might be one more Facebook Live on at 2 p.m. for me this year. But definitely not next week because next week not working. Well, I'm working on Monday, but not on Tuesday. So therefore, that will be it. Um, Hi everyone. Hi Joe. Oh, Joe is the first time that she's joining out on our live. That's brilliant. It's great when you do. Like I always, it's just such a great thing. Also, and Helen is joining us. Lorraine from our design team, as is Rebecca. Cynthia, aloha as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody. Now, of course, I am right now live. Jean is joining us. It's so funny because every time that there is things going on, so if you can hear me, can you kind of confirm that you can hear me? Then it will be great, because it should be the sign is like there is voice, there's microphone, but as per usual, not sure if it's recording it properly. Oh, see, this is what happens when there is a little bit of something. Could you somebody confirm that you can hear me? Yes, you can hear me. Fantastic. That is brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that as people can confirm it because so many issues. And it's just a question of that. So technically, fingers crossed. I'm quite happy with the setup at the minute. So that's positive, I suppose. There's obviously constantly like I've been crafting from home for, well, I guess now it's 30 years because when I was a teenager I was using that. So that kind of that's what I was doing. um Also, it's quite funny because I put the technology, like I have got a setup as well technologically, and it never works. I put in no notifications and another thing. So if you hear bips and beeps, please forgive me. It should be all fine. Right. So let's, with those kind of catching up with everybody, making sure that everybody is catching up, let me start by saying, have you checked the deal on embossing folders? Because if you haven't, let's have a look. Now, this offer means that you can get three embossing well, you get four embossing folders, but you only pay for three. Now, of course, that with the lowest price, a folder automatically will be off, like it won't cost you anything at checkout. So when you go to you put things into your baskets, it won't happen. It's just when you check out. So that's the thing. And I think it's a brilliant way to maybe go for those ones that maybe you haven't thought that you would use, and then you're thinking, oh, I have seen that sample and it's just so beautiful, and so on and so forth. So make sure that you check it out. We have got the QR code here, so it's all the embossing folders. So when you click on that, it tells you all the ones that they are there, that we have got in stock. And what I'm going to go through is a bit of revisit some ideas. I think most of the techniques have been done before, so I'm not groundbreaking. We have got a visitor. Of course, the Fuji wants to make an appearance, and I just want to say hello because she's been a very good girl. She's on a diet at the minute, so she's been very, very good lately as well, and hopefully she can lose a little bit of that belly that she has. Apologies, it's just usually she just sits there quietly, but now when she comes in. Valerie is joining us from Honduras. I had to say a massive shout out because in Honduras, how cool is that? Right, so I'm gonna go in and explain you a little bit what I'm gonna be doing. So it's just gonna go through embossing folders. Let me put that away. Now, the first thing that you will see here is one of the cards. Sorry, the camera has gone weird again. No, come here, come here, come here. That's, oh my goodness, this is frustrating. Right, so here you can see the embossing for this card that I did last time that we were like we did a Facebook live, and well, I did a Facebook live. What is it happening? Something is weird going on. So this is the embossing folder, the kind of card that I did, and it was using the anthracite and the white ink, right? And I really, really love that card. And it was a technique, like this is the coldest spotlight technique, which you ink beforehand and then you add ink or not, you leave it as it is. It's a really, sorry, this is gonna be driving me insane, so I'll have to make sure that I'll put it there. Right, I'll have to apologize, but I'm just gonna have, you will have to see my messy background. This is the only way that works with this setup, so you can see the whole table. So this is the actual card that I did live, and that was one of the techniques that I wanted to mention, and then I will go through a few of them as well. And the other thing I wanted to show you as well was this one here. This is, you can see that there was with my time with physics, and it was all the different techniques that I had done and tested as well, different surfaces, like, you know, for instance, there is this technique, which is a really cool one, and that's with embossing powders once of it, so it gives you that metal effect as well. So there is lots of different ways that you can use depending on what mediums you have, and some of the techniques you need certain types of materials, so I'm not going to focus so much on them. What I'm going to be doing is more about how to, you know, like utilizing Lisa Horton products, things that we can do, and how it works. So the first thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to start with, is actually using a die cut. And that's one of the things that I often get asked, or I have been asked many times in the past, and is the fact that what do you do first? Like, what is the right order to do something? And I always say, you know, that to me it was like you stamp, you emboss, stamp, die cut, emboss. So that was the order. So even if you don't stamp, then it's emboss and die cut, you die cut and then emboss, or if you stamp and then die cut. But I know that certain people do it in a different way. One of the things that I always say is always die cut first, right, and then emboss it, unless it's a technique that requires the other way around. But the reason being is that if you get into the habit of it, if you can say how magical it is, you need to if you emboss it and then die cut it, what happens is that the rollers can flatten the embossed details. So I always recommend to emboss first, right? I emboss second, die cut first. Right, so this is a square kind of ish card. So I pre-die cut it, and I'm gonna go for, since we are in Christmas, I'm gonna go for the festive postal marks, but you can use any of those ones, right? And I'm gonna just place it on the top. So the first technique is gonna be simply die cut first, then emboss. Right, so gonna go in, and let me grab the right, because maybe me, I completely misplaced my embossing. Where is it? It is here, it's just I cannot see it. Right, so platform top, yeah, I always have to look at it because basically I'm using 3D embossing folders, so I don't need the platform top. I do like to have the shimmer that comes in with a platy green, because it just gives it a little bit more of a definition in there, and then just place it there. I am somebody who never remembers where the hinges need to be put. So I find it that I am a bit of a rebel. Now I'm gonna go a second time. I don't know why I'm doing that, just because it's so smooth with the platy green. That probably is. Now, of course, black on black, it's not going to be, but you can see there how gorgeous it is. And there are different definitions, like you have got something higher, something less high. Now, what else I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of white cards, and here is when I'm going to start talking about things, for instance, like using water mist. Now, I'm going to spritz it on the side. I tend to only do it in one side, but you should kind of really do it on both, unless it's ink, in which case you do it only on one. Now it's very, very wet. The reason why you should do it on both is because right now there's only water in that side. And can you see the curvature? So if I did it on the other side, now automatically, right? So I just, the card doesn't, I mean, I did unbend it a bit, but there is moisture from both sides. The reason why is, you know, wetting your paper beforehand is one of those things that I have never, ever been too religious about, too fundamental about. I find it that a lot of the times people say, oh, you know, you should do this, you should do that. And I find it that it's more what works for you, and also depends what room you are working in as well. So you can see it here that it has embossed, you know, beautifully. I mean, I wouldn't say it's one of those ones. Can you see the difference in terms of it? A little bit. You know, I would say that embosses a bit better. But the water thing, it for me, it's always a question of if a card tends to rip a little bit, like it kind of, and you don't want any of the white bits coming showing through, then sure, do make sure that you spritz water. But other than that, it's not an essential step, or it's not an absolute essential. That's what I would say. It's not an absolute essential. Right. So once that you have it like this, you can see that a pattern will continue in here as well. And I deliberately die cut kind of a frame because I wanted to have that frame coming through it. Can you see it? Of course, with black on black, it's just not the best thing. But talking about black on black, let's make it not so black. And this is again another quick technique that I'm gonna be doing. Well, it's not so quick, but it's a technique that is worth doing. Now I'm gonna bring in a kind of a messy mat. I'm gonna put my plates down here. Please remind me that I put them down here on the side actually. And what I'm going to be doing is take that one away and bring in some of the gorgeous, I really, really love that one. I think I'm going to go for peacock tails. The reason I'm going for peacock tails is I do love that teal kind of color. And I think for Christmas would be a really, really gorgeous. And also the ripe mango. Now, these ones have been standing up for a bit, so what I'm doing is I'm gonna bring in this as well. Typical Paula, this has touch. Okay, so that is a little bin. I just wanted to have it nearby because I'm gonna create a little bit of a mess. Right, so what I need to do here basically is shake it a bit. So I'm gonna go in with a stirrer. This is a drink stirrer, I think, or what that is. And add them. It's impossible to find them. I have been looking for them because they're really, really perfect. But it's impossible to find them nowadays because they are plastic, right? So this is probably about, I don't know, 10 years old or something like that. So then we put it. Now I put the ink in here. So what I'm going to be doing is reusing them, reusing that. So you can use with a foam. You could even use your kitchen paper towel. It really is up to you. Now I have got a blending brush in here. So you can go in straight away and go in here. Now you can see, because it's interference, we have got shimmery coming down that is different colors. So what I'm just doing is actually basically colorizing areas in here, and I think this is a really nice technique to use. They're gonna put this in here as well, and then just gonna do a few ones in here, not to worry too much about which ones they are. And of course, the less the wrinkles, the less you shake them, the more that you are going to get the top layer, which is the dye. So of course on black hearts it's not going to show as much. And then the other one, which is Peacock Tails, the same thing. Oh, this is a bit tougher to open it up. I don't like to, because I haven't cleaned it up properly. This one still has got a little bit of color. I'm not taking it direct in here. Just put a bit there. So now I know that it will have a lot of pigment, which is what I want. Remember, the pigment sits on the top and is the one that is gonna give me more definition onto it. And look at that, right? So what I'm going to be doing here is just kind of filling it a little bit in here, the details, right? There we go, the details. Now I'm going directly with my brush. I'm not going to do highs and lows. This is the next sort of layers that we are going to do in it. So we can build those colors, we can build those definitions, we can build the different designs of it. Now, what it is important of this technique, and that is where I kind of always go like, oh, I have done something wrong, it's not looking, is that you really want to have pearlescent element all over it. So for instance, this corner, even if I just kind of go in, and if you have to open it again or shake it a lot more until the ball bearing is released, then do that. Just be very careful when you take your little pep out, that you make sure that your decanter, your nozzle, that you put it back properly, because I hadn't, and I almost had a little accident, or a big one, depending how you look at it. So what you want to have is like a lot of color in there, a lot, like there is no pure black. Just gonna put a little bit of yellow here as well, and then I'm gonna put, well, it's a ripe mango, which is a yellow dye, but the interference is green, so it kind of shows on black and green in here as well. So we have got that there. Now what we need to do is let it rest, right? We need to let it dry a bit more. So I'm going to put it aside, but you will see what I mean by that, because what we are going to do is ink the top of it. So to just have it or sand it, either way works. We'll try first with inking. And that's just one of the things that I love about the embossing folders, that it's not necessarily anything is just that way. There's a lot of ways that you can make it work. Always have, if you can, paper towel nearby, as well as spritz of water. And this is what we are going to do, is that gorgeous ink, we're going to keep it. We are going to make sure that we utilize it. You can press it down like so. I put quite a lot of water, but you can see how intense it kind of grows. It develops, and I really want to get a little bit more of that yellow coming through here. There we go. There we go. Now we can bring in, and this is important because this, then you can emboss it as well. So you can bring in a lot of color if you wanted to your creations, or subtle colors. So this is one of the things that I like to do as well, is chasing the edges. So just doing it on the edges to create a white inside here, because then it's a really nice, especially for a sentiment or a focal point, you have got the white area there as well. So there we go. A little bit of color there. There we go. Now, of course, there's so much more in here that it sounds ridiculous to waste it. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to bring in a piece of paper. This is just a piece, like literally random paper. And I'm going to bring it in there. And look at that. There's lots of color. But you want to make sure that you pick it all up before you move on to the next thing, right? So wipe it all up. There we go. So this should be quite dry by now. And we are going to be using that as well. Remember, there's like lots of different little techniques onto it. And now we are going to be doing... See, I'm going to go in with the technique I was meant to do, which is going in with the solid black. And I like to do this one because it's one of those ones that it just kind of accents the detail. Now I can see in here that it's not showing up as much. So I'm going to go with, and this is the beautiful thing when you have got both the reinkers and the, what is it? The actual ink pads. Because you can choose. Sometimes with the reinkers, I find it that you get more definition. Sometimes with the ink pads, I find it that you can get a bit more definition there. And I might put a little bit in here as well, because I kind of go in there. I kind of find that that kind of works a bit better. Might do a bit here. There we go. Right, so now I'm going to do it a quick blast with my heat gun. This is one of the oldest heat guns, so it's just really one. And I'm just making sure that the moisture has gone. I absolutely adore how this one is turning out. I mean, look at those colors coming through. Absolutely stunning. Right, so you could take a sanding block, but I'm going to go in with the actual solid black. It has got a felt one. You really want to make sure that it's dry. And you see how suddenly that detail comes a lot more, and it almost recedes the detail. I mean, I just really like that. It darkens it, absolutely does, but it just makes sure that the embossed detail comes across a bit more. So this, I just really, for me, that's the step that kind of suddenly makes the embossing folder really come alive. And I tend to kind of go in a lot harder than maybe some of you would go. It's up to you, really. Yeah, it's really up to you. But this, I just really suddenly becomes really cool. And of course we have in here, and what you could have done, or I could have done, is to put here onto the white the same colors. So of course then you have got the difference between the interference, but you don't need to. You just can leave it like this. And this is a really nice focal point for your card as well. So you could in here create like a little hinge, or just create what I'm going to do now, which is to take that out. Take one of my mini embossing scoring boards in here. It's not very good, but it's very practical to have always at hand. It doesn't matter how much. It's about a little bit like a half an inch, or between a half an inch and an inch is the right sort of difference. I just dropped my little scoring board, And what I'm going to do is construct the card first, and or the cover, and then I'm going to glue the rectangle. But I just think that that is just really nice to put the embossed element into the actual card. Now, top tip, which I wasn't going to do, is to line it up instead of doing. So if you have, because when it embosses, sometimes the card, even though it's absolutely identical in size, because of how the fibers can stretch, some of the card will be smaller or will appear to be smaller. And that's because, like, if you think about it, the fibers are like this, right? And it's the same size. But as soon as you stretch them, there is a change in size of it, right? Being very tight, being stretched. So there is that growth. And depends on how much a card can expand, basically, due to the scoring. That means that there is a bit of difference in size. So hence why it's good to get it. I really like that. I just think it's just really magical to just that. And then of course we have these the octagon. You could, if you wanted to, if you want to create, that looks really cool. I'm just want to do like a straight up. So you just put, I'm gonna say dry clear, a straight up frame here. See, I have done a little bit of my dirty fingers in here, but that kind of, when you open it up, you can then keep a sentiment in there, which I should have. Sorry, I didn't put that one with my pile of things to use. I'm going to take one of these ones, which is a couple of years old, but it's always good to have one. And this one, with this case, green would work very nice, black would work very nice as well. So we could just do a simple, oh, I love this one, believe in the magic. And then you could put believe in the magic, Merry Christmas, right? Kind of like it like this. But I kind of, it's a little bit more modern than your typical cards. But again, it's a technique. It might not be the card that you are going to be sending, or it might be exactly the card you are sending. Just going to go in and see my little bag of treasures. These ones are too big. But this is the sort of thing. I mean, and this one is not quite Christmassy, is it? But this is what I would do. I would put a Christmas, these ones are too big as well. I would put a Christmas flower in here. Oh, you know, you can shape it a little bit. This is not the right flower. I just put some element, but just place it in here. Make sure that you can still read it. But that would be a really quick and easy card. But it's also a technique with the embossing folders. And remember, you are getting 4 for the price of 3. It happens automatically at discount when you do that this week. I really like that, I have to say, by shaping them a little bit more so it's a bit more, you know, like something like mistletoe in here would look really, really nice. But I don't think I have got anything. Anyway, this technique is really great. Yeah, these stickers that I'm using were part of the kit, what I said, that I put the Christmas designer collection. So they are really, and you're getting so many of each color. So it's a really good, that's why kits are so good. By the way, I didn't mention it. Tomorrow I'm going to be on Hobbycraft at 9 o'clock. I should have started at 1:30. So please join me, because we have got the kit that the creative kit as well. So that's another kit that works very nicely with the stickers as well. It has got rub-ons instead. Right, so this is the paper that we have created in the background. So let me show you what we can do as well with it. So here I'm gonna go more for a floral type of pattern. So I think I'm gonna go in with the wildflowers. Now this is a 6x6 embossing folder, but you don't have to say, oh, you know, it's just for 6x6. What you need to do, make sure that you don't place it on the edge, because that will be weird to have a clean edge and not on the other. So I kind of make sure that you centralize it a bit, so there's designs all over the page in here. You could even choose to have it in a, sorry, you can have it whichever, like for instance, this centralized design, you want it in the center, so you, so on and so forth. The one thing I will say is with embossing folders, and this is one of the things, is you know, always said, which one is the which one is the right side. They don't really have a right or wrong size. That's only depending what effect you want to have, whether you want to have a raised effect or whether you want a deboss effect, right? So if you want a deboss effect or an embossed effect like traditional, you always look at, and if you feel it that it's kind of almost a smoother side, that used to be my thing, is that that's the side that you need to have on the top. It's basically the negative side, but I find it that is confusing, the negative and positive. I get confused, but basically I touch it and it feels that it protrudes, the design protrudes. I know that that has to be the one that I put the back of the paper, and that's the one that is the negative on the top. Don't know if it makes much sense, but that makes sense to me, so I hope it does to you. So you can see I had it in the wrong way before it. Definitely this is the front of the paper, so I need to make sure that it goes like that. Right, so there we go. So I'm gonna, Lorraine is saying that a snowflake would have been looked very nicely in that previous card. Absolutely would have. Now here is the time where we kind of start thinking, do we want to add ink to our embossing folders? Shall we use them as kind of inking devices, or shall we just do it as it is? And for this particular design, I'm kind of going in, oh, it would be really nice to have ink all over it to create a kind of a negative pattern. So for this, you can use, of course, solid black. I prefer to use Swift ink. The reason is I find it slightly easier to clean up, and the reason is because that one has got a lot of pigment content with it as dye. So therefore this one, it's almost it's like 99% water-based, so it cleans out really easily just down the tap. It's gonna create a mess, it's gonna create a stain in the embossing folder, but you can always clean it up. So what I'm gonna do is kind of go in over here, just make sure that it's all cleaned up, and then before I close it, I just need to make sure that it's going in the right sort of direction. There we go. Now, of course, I usually at home, I am at home, but you know, this is not like I craft as well as here. I craft on my computer desk, so I tend to not move, bringing the die cutting machine is always out. Now this is straight up, so no water in here. You can start adding water as well, but that is, you can see the color, you can see basically 3 colors, and of course because it was interference, you start kind of seeing colors coming through, which I think is quite magical. Now, of course, this is a kind of in a technique that, depending on the embossing folder as well, you are gonna get different effects, right? You are gonna every time some embossing folders really work with this. Some of them, like this one, I think it looks just like an incredible line of print. So I really, really love it. But it's one of, again, one of these techniques that you can use in many different ways. Now, I will say this probably, if it was on a regular day, probably wouldn't use this technique, because I'm absolutely in love with this background. I just love it. However, I want to show you again the process of doing different techniques. So spray of water in here to reactivate that ink in there, and then place it over. Now it has moved a little bit, but you know, hey ho, it's gonna be a messy one. Bring in your die cutting machine, and this one again, if you move the embossing folder the least amount, so I would have this ready, that would be the best way. And of course, if you wanted to just do like tag book as well, it's great to have pre-die cut tags. I used to do that, clearly. But look at that now. Of course, because of the water has reactivated a lot of the ink underneath it, and at the same time the interference that was very, very pale and I almost couldn't see it, because incorporation of that black hasn't suddenly, it has made it pop in there. Absolutely adore this technique. It's just every single time it's going to be a bit different, isn't it? Now, there are other ways here to clean it up. I mean, I shouldn't do it on top of the plate, shouldn't I? Oh my goodness. If I was watching myself, I would be screaming and yelling. So I hope you are doing that to me as well. They clean, I mean, this is one of the reasons I love Swifting. I mean, look how clean that has come up. Give it a good rub and definitely clean it up straight away. Right? Straight away. That is pretty clean. There we go. And of course, the next time I will run it through a scrap paper, but you can see completely clean. There we go. Now, I absolutely love that. I really, really do. Because then you bring in a little bit of black heart in here. I love a lot. And doesn't it just look, and I don't know if you can see, yeah, it's perfectly. You can see here the interference coming through. There's a little bit in there. It's just like really, really good background. And of course, if you trim a bit, not that much black, just a tiny bit, it's just gonna look amazing. And this one you can see as well, interference coming through. So again, we are doing little bits and pieces. Now I'm going to do one technique which I absolutely adore, and you have had this sneak peeks in here, and I'm trying to go through as many as possible in the small amount of time, because 1 hour is never enough. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to bring it in. By the way, you know, the Year in Bloom, both the 25 and the 26 collections, they lend themselves very much for this, to make the techniques, because you have got so many different types of embossing folders. And by types of embossing folder, I mean, it's not just the geometric nature, but the type of focal points as well. And funnily enough, I have gone all for very, very dense ones. I don't. But basically, what I'm trying to convey is that there are embossing folders that are like this, so they are all over. It's a pattern. You have got like this one, which is the gorgeous lace, and I have done that in. I just love that on vellum, so it looks incredible. But then you have embossing folders that are much more open. So of course the different designs and things like that will work differently that way. For instance, this one, you can see here is a lot more open, and this is from 25, a year in bloom. So that really works very well. And of course, embossing folders onto mirror card is they're just magical. They just become these magical things. Right. So for this technique, I'm gonna go and use the sunflower, and the reason is because it is a flower. Now, for these, the best side to do it to is the one that basically is the negative, the one that you put. If this is the front of the card, the one that you want to see here, right? You can always do the other side, but it's going to be a slightly different effect. So what we are going to bring in, of course, is the dazzle paste. And I'm going to go for these colors, even though they are not necessarily the right colors in here. But I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to go in with the spearmint. Oh, sorry. Let me grab another one. That's the one that I wanted to go. Ginger biscuit. All right. And nope, I won't be using gingerbread. Have I ever spoken about how everything dries in my house? Yeah, I won't be able to do this one because everything dries in my studio. So these two, you can revive them a little bit with water, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend. I had them open for a year. I have been using them all the time. But with these two, what you do is you spread a little bit. I don't know if this one will be correct as well. Yep. This one is not. Okay, so now this one has happened. It's basically what happens in this room is very, very dry. And I always spoke about it. And this is what's happened. So when I look, so basically you put the paste over it. So what happens in my studio is that everything dries. I had to throw away so many things, had like lots of mediums from very, very, very good brands. I had to throw them all, like artist brands, like these brands that you spend an absolute fortune for just one single thing. And yeah, I had to throw them away. And that's because it's very dry and very warm in this room. There we go. So right, so what you do is you place it with a palette knife or something like this, and then you bring them in them. Now, as I mentioned, the palette paste, please don't do like I do. You see, this one is complete. It's fine. See, it's this room. If and also close them properly. There we go. That's fine. Now I have done the white, and then I spread out the pink. Right? Now here is one of those occasions where usually it's like, oh, you don't have to be that generous. Here you have to be generous, because that's gonna make the biggest difference in terms of when you remove the excess. Here we go. Can you see how much I'm putting in here? There we go. There we go. So you can see that that happened. This one was absolutely fantastic. Right. Now, if the dazzle paste had been in the pot without being open and in a regular room, this wouldn't happen. I mean, you can see that this one was absolutely perfect. The other thing is that the more that you use them, the more chances are, the more air are going to be there as well. But now, what we are going to be doing with this is let it completely set and cure for 24 hours at the very least, because that's going to make sure that it's dry through. Now, different designs I have done with it, and you can see here. I mean, look at that. And it has a flexibility as well. can you see how the actual flowers, the two colors? So I use the that was the gold kind of color, and then I use the pepper spearmint in here. I use the white as well, so I use the cracked ice in here with the spearmint. With, I love that one, that's the crocus from the Year in Bloom, and again the lace. So they are so gorgeous, these ones. Once you do it, it looks almost like pottery, doesn't it? Apologies for my dazzle paste. It's just like, you can see I have used them a lot, and also with this room it just doesn't help it, doesn't it? So now with this, I'm just gonna quickly, and I think some of you may have seen these cards before, but I just really like this. I'm not gonna do the full card, but I'm just gonna place it. I mean, you could do it a bit bigger. What you can do is do the full pattern first, but I'm not going to do it because it's a year in Bloom. But what I would do is you can then bring in something like that, one of those patterns that go all the way. One that is really nice is the words. I think that really kind of complements really well. See, the thing is, I am such a, oh, that works better. This is very kind of, you know, rectangle, if you know what I mean. It's very oval rather than round. This is a slightly more square. You can cut it if you wanted to as well, using some scissors, or even die cut it, because I will retain its shape. But I would just leave it like that, right? And then here, what I would do is bring one of the creative kits. Remember, I'm on Hobbycraft tomorrow, and here there's several things I'm thinking of. One of the things I'm thinking of is to bring a die cut and then just place it here, and that would be quite nice, wouldn't it? You know, just like a sentiment here or here, but also bringing in a little bit of acetate as well. Acetate and having a rub-on will work really nicely. If you want to see how a rub-on is going to look, see, that's a bit, yeah, you still can read it. Shall I do that? I'll do that. I'm going to use Fabulous Friend. Right, so I just want to have a little strip in here. And then, so what I have is that sort of thing. So I tend to put it that side, and then I know how much I need to cut. Hopefully it's enough. If not, I have. This is acetate from packaging. I tend to keep everything. I always say I keep everything. And then just place it here. And then I love these ribbons. Oh, see, if that happens, don't worry. That's user error. It's just gone in too harsh. That's okay. That doesn't matter, because this card is a bit, you know, more. That was me. You know what I did? I was doing like this and then coming back. Don't go over the edge. Just always stay within the paper there. Like this, you can read it, but you can also see the pattern underneath it. You can centralize it if you wanted to. I am a rebel. I don't like to centralize things. One of the reasons is if you centralize things, it looks more commercially made, you know, more industrial. Where if you do it a little bit off, then it just looks like, you know, it's a bit more personal. Now you can see, you can glue it if you wanted to, absolutely flat. I have made it a slightly bigger, the falls there. And then what I'm going to be doing is putting foam pads. I have got some foam pads here. And what I'm going to do is place a foam pad there, because that's the thing, isn't it, that this is completely opaque, this paste, and this both attach and glues the actual paste to the actual. See, I am the kind of person that always says always look from the front, and I didn't, so it was crooked. Yes, it was crooked. Oh, right. So what you can do, I drive myself insane, so if I'm driving you insane, please, I do apologize. There, I do apologize. There. So see, you have the actual rub-on over acetate, so you still can see the actual card. So this is again a quick, well, this one, no, actually this one is a planning technique, so you have to do the paste before it, but do make sure, and like I do, that you keep them with the lid sealed. Make sure that you close them properly and you don't put them right beside the radiator like I done. Well, it's just because this room gets so warm, but you can see it here. So far we have done basically about, well, the plain embossing, coloring in as well, and we have got the coloring beforehand. A quick one I want to do, you can emboss cards, cardboard as well, that has got texture in here. So I'm gonna go in and I'm cutting it into A6, but of course, because embossing folders, I'm going to use a 5x7 here, and I really do love this embossing folder, the bold stars. Let me put that in here, put this there. And here I am painting. Now here is where it comes into the question of which side you want to use. So I'm touching it, and that's the one that protrudes. So that's, if I put like this side is gonna be debossed. So I'm gonna go into here. I was gonna place it there. Now we have got a suggestion from Lorraine Gower, and she's suggesting to do the rub-on as well on vellum. Absolutely brilliant idea. I just want to, yeah, I have got the shame on. The rub-ons look amazing onto vellum, and I have got a quick. Now this one, can you see this side? Really nice, but also on this side, can you see the texture on texture? I think it's really, really cool. But let me do the lace with the acetate. I have to do this one. I know with the acetate, not with the vellum. So let me see if I can find the piece of vellum that I have prepared earlier. Here it is. So here again, into a 5x7. Love this acetate one. I'm going to show you which one it is, which is the lovely lace. Definitely this is a must. I think it's one of those ones that if you are gonna do weddings, or you have got people in your life like grandchildren or friends that love fairy tales and things like that, that is a brilliant one to go for. And look at that. I mean, this one is just exquisite, and it works both sides. I think this one is the kind of one that I would just put maybe a tag in here. Maybe that's the thing I do. Like, I always use like the fundamentals, or to incorporate to die cut, because then you can use something like this, right? And then what I do is I glue that onto the vellum, and then I use these lines to actually glue things, and using the square. I mean, look how gorgeous that would look as well, and with a sentiment in there, just very, very romantic, very lacy, very much wedding-y as well, right? Very wedding, reminiscent of wedding. Right, this one that doesn't look that much is one of those ones that you can bring in different inks into it again. So before, but look at that. Can you see how cool is that? Just going in. I absolutely love to die cutting into corrugated card, because then you have got basically another layer of pattern. And this one is the kind of card that I would trim it a bit more, I would use it a bit more, whatever, but then you layer onto something like this, and then you literally is your card for a man, right? So then you kind of bring it in. And again, lots of great possibilities. Of course, you can emboss the acetate as well. So I do have this one, which I kind of really love how it has embossed it, and you can do partial embossing as well. It's not enough time in 1 hour. One thing I would say is, like, of course you can do partial embossing like this. You can also do partial embossing by placing your embossing folder. Say for instance that you just want a line that goes like this. So what would you do is, basically, this is one of the lines. Let me show you what I mean, because I don't think I would explain it well like this. So let me bring in one of the I will bring a small embossing folder, just because with the actual Platinum 6, if you are using a 5x7 card, then you need to be a bit more thoughtful about the actual pieces. So partial embossing. So what we do is, say that we want to have the line in here. So then we close it like this, making sure that it's more or less straight, right? That edge is straight. So what we want is this bit here. So what you do is, when you bring it in here, so basically the top is given by that. This is the one that is going to give us the bottom of it. Now, this is one of those ones that is the one that can happen the most types of... Oh, yeah, that. Just dropping my brushes all over the floor. Apologies for that. There we go. Place it in there. So that means that only this bit, can you see it? Only this bit should have embossed. And there you have it. Now, of course, you're going to have a more cleaner edge in that, and more of a diffuse edge here, because the pressure travels a little bit. But I really like this technique of partial embossing. So there's one more thing that there we have touched on. So in terms of acetate and vellum, is literally like you would stamp with cards. The only thing I have done here, if I put it like this, is I put some of the ink. I think that was Swift Dry, which doesn't quite dry completely onto acetate, so I wouldn't recommend to do that is in the front. I done it on the back of it. So therefore, what you do is just literally, not with this one, with Swift Dry, and you do it on the inside, the area where there is the least amount of touching and rubbing. Still, it's not completely, it's not completely dry. So do make sure there are other inks that will dry completely onto acetate. The other thing that I would recommend when you have this partial embossing is to take in a scoring tool as well and do a line. And I'm using it the other lot on the inside, or on the emboss side, and then suddenly that creates that cleaner edge both sides. You can turn it over and you can see it how it looks the other side, but I kind of like it more indented. So sorry, this way, more of the valley, and that I really, sorry, kind of, can you see how I just think it looks very classy with that way. And then here again, just a sentiment in here, and we have got a beautiful, beautiful card. I mean, you could even mask this off, run it with a metallic ink as well. So there's so many kind of ways of using the embossing folders. These are some of the ideas. I still love this one. I think a snowflake, like Lorraine was saying, would work beautifully. Yeah, there is many ways, or just, you know, just add a little bit of lime green with a little bit of element. But yeah, these are a few of the techniques that you can do with embossing folders. Of course, then this one is another one that I did earlier, which is on the corrugated card, then white ink all over it. Very different from doing it on the other side with the black ink, but it's the same embossing folder. Of course, think about partial embossing as well, kind of adding more detail. Then, of course, you can pre-die cut all the elements and then running them through the embossing folder to create decorations. So there is so many ways that just will look incredible onto your project. So give them a go, and more importantly, try your well, you make use of that incredible offer of the 443. I will automatically be added. Let me show you. That's the deal for this week. You know, say as a thank you, and Lisa is gonna be back on Friday at 6:30. She's gonna be live. She's doing really well, so she wants to come in, and there will be a great offer as well. And I will be tomorrow at 9 o'clock and at 1:30 on Hobbycraft TV. I hope you, I'm just going to put it here. So Hannah, I think it's on Friday. Sorry, I didn't update that. I forget what it says, but basically it's 9 from 9 o'clock tomorrow. Oh, holy crap. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you. Well, I'll be hopefully back on the 29th. Still to be confirmed, because it might be one of those days that, but keep an eye on the social medias and we will let you know. Thank